What is up? Welcome to the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Danny here with my buddy Randy, and today we're going to talk about the future. Future.
Future.
Yeah.
Nice.
Was that from SpongeBob? Or some?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Future.
Well, no, I think
Uh,
we're starting to get. I don't know. I've been thinking about this because we do. We read a lot of science fiction, both of us. And we were just talking about how, like, I always find it like, even though, like, it's funny when you read like the guys from like the 1940s, 50s and stuff, and they're like 2000 or 1984, and it's like,
mhm.
way advanced beyond what we ever had then. But the point is, like, most of the stuff they think of does come true because it's just like an extension of science, right?
Well, you mentioned that. So like 1984, you're like, "Oh yeah, Big Brother." But actually you look at it now and it's like 100% Big Brother
Yeah.
because you can literally track everything about everybody and you look at these big conglomerates and they know everything about
Dude,
everybody
they can
because
listen to
everybody
your
carries around a location device with them. They
a
carry around,
microphone, a camera that can be turned on without their knowledge, like,
yep.
at any time.
Yeah, so it wasn't far off. It was only like 20 years off.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy now too with AI because of that now. Like I know with like Pixel phones and stuff, or like with your computer, now like they're gonna be taking images, screenshots and stuff every few seconds for search history, or like, you can turn on a thing with Gemini where it'll listen and if it hears a song, it'll tell you what song it is, like very accurately, which is cool, but that means it's listening every few seconds. But they don't store that information. So, don't be worried.
Yeah. I don't know. After they get all the valuable information from it, they don't store it
Don't
because
store
that
the
costs them
rest.
money. Yeah, that costs them
No, but
money.
it's interesting, and it's like remember when the whole thing with the what was it, the NI, not the NIH, the NC, what was the
NSA,
NSA? Thanks, one of
NSA.
those
Oh
terrible
yeah,
acronyms.
Snowden, that movie. They were
Yeah,
talking about it. Yeah.
but the whole thing with like they were like it's just metadata, it's just metadata, but
Well,
like
you can
that's all you
find out
need.
more. Yeah, so okay, so there's a really great security researcher, and his name escapes me at the moment. Krebs. Uh, no, Krebs on security? No, it's not him. Somebody else. Well, anyways, he talks about how there's way more information to be had. Bruce Schneier, that's his name. I think this comes from the book Data versus Goliath, and he talks about how way more accurate information, profiling information, can be found from metadata than from the actual data that's transmitted. So like if
Yeah,
you have a conversation, it'll give you a little bit, but if you see like calls from this person going to this type of place on a regular basis, you know exactly what they're doing. So it gives you a lot more information. Like they play it off like, oh, there's nothing in metadata. We can't, but metadata is the actual
well, it
information.
is, and it's funny. It's like take a picture, like a photo, right? If you look at the metadata versus the image, the metadata actually provides a lot more detailed information than the actual image about where it was taken, what kind of
Hmm.
device was used, literally like the navigation coordinates of where that was, everything. I mean, so you really can pinpoint a person's location and where they've traveled and everything. It's kind of crazy. I mean, we can
Hmm.
now, but we carry computers in our pockets. You can follow everybody around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that leads us to what is going to happen in the future because I mean they pretty much predicted what's happening now. So what's going
I don't
colonization of Mars? I think that's the next thing.
I think we're gonna. I think we gotta, because we have like the space station, but that's like old school. If we do like
Yeah.
the moon, either build a base on the moon, which would make sense because then you can launch from there too, which is like lower gravity,
But
so it's
who's going to
less.
own it? That's going to
That
be the big
this is
thing
the thing,
because
right?
once you have some capability to have something launched from the moon, then you can attack anywhere on Earth,
Yeah,
and then they're in
and
trouble.
that would
Yeah.
get us further out too, though. So I think once we start like actually getting like research bases on planets, that'll be our start. But
Yeah.
eventually we're gonna have to. I think eventually we're gonna go because out somewhere. It's the last kind of frontier that's really huge and unknown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
love the Expanse series for what it did on that. Just like the
yeah,
whole like colonization of all over and just I don't know, they make it sound so cool. But it is a scary thing because life in space is very tenuous. You're like literally anything outside of your contained environment is like deadly,
yeah.
instantaneous deadly. So like you really have to be cautious and you're just getting radiation all the time because you don't have an atmosphere protecting you from it.
Well, that's what you need. You need radiate, and they need. You're constantly fixing things because if they break, you all die. So
Hmm.
like terrorist acts too are really even accidents are dangerous, right? I mean, like anything's dangerous.
Yeah.
You know,
Or like you have recycled air, so somebody farts and then you're just like recycling that air forever.
constantly. Forget recycled air, dude. Really, I mean, they need to recycle everything. Urine for water and for other things, and
I
like,
love in the books how they just talk about this like the recycler. You just dump stuff in the recycle. Like instead of fixing it or reusing it, you just dump it in the recycler and somehow it turns it into like
Well,
new material
one of
for
the
the
books I was
next thing.
reading, I mean, they were talking about this was like he was imagining very far in the future, but the recyclers like they would throw bodies in there too, and basically it would break
Hmm.
things down to their atom components and then rebuild things from it, which that
Yeah.
would be a very efficient way to do it if we can manage that at
Hmm.
some point. I
Yeah.
wanted to, because a lot of these books too, at least a lot of ones I've been reading recently, that have like they've been imagining like really far in the future, like 10,000 years and stuff. They always seem to imagine society getting at a point where technology can provide everything. So like, there's no want for any material thing at all. And then the major problem you run into there then is social issues, right? Like, can
Hmm.
society develop consistently with that to where like, you know, it's not kept from people because of money and stuff like that? But I do wonder if that's going to be a point to which we get sometime too, because there's so much matter out in like, if we grabbed asteroids, I mean, there's so much existing matter out there. All we'd have to do is get it. And then,
Yeah.
we could theoretically make anything.
Well, it kind of gets to like a universal base income type of thing where like you get the minimum for survival, you don't have to worry about it, but there's still the big conglomerates and all these companies that are doing the space mining and
Yeah.
everything, and they're the ones that are, corrupt and influencing everything. It always comes down to freaking politics and whatever.
Well, that's the funny thing is I read these books and I wonder sometimes like if that's going to be the thing that stops us is not so much the science technology, but our society or our society, our political situation throughout the globe, right? Because like we don't work together. Everybody's separate fighting for things. And so that naturally leads to conflict rather than unity, because like think about it, if we got to the moon in the 60s with like nothing. Like if we work together, we can do almost anything. We just don't.
And if we challenge a rival country, we can do it even faster.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Uh,
But look at like the Large Hadron Collider, right? That was something amazing. That thing, if you really look at how big that thing is, one,
oh, it's
and
huge.
how they built it, dude, it's like science fiction by itself. It's amazing how that thing even like because you look at pictures, it just looks like a bunch of tubes and stuff, all confusing and crazy. And like, yeah,
And
it's
they have to be
amazing.
super cooled, and
Yeah.
somehow it has the two molecules or
They hate each
protons,
other.
electrons just collide. Yeah, not miss. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shooting protons at each other. Or it's like
Yeah.
I wonder too, because quantum computers are finally, I don't know if you've been keeping up with any of that, but they've so I forget who. One
I think
research
like
group,
Google has one, NASA
well,
has one,
Google,
but
IBM, NASA, a bunch of companies have them. They're all in research, but there's some university wrote, I think it was a university, they wrote an actually operating system for them. So they're
hmm,
getting to the point now where it's like they're trying to get to like a more like because all these companies were doing it individually, right? So now they're trying to get to a point where like they can start like early computers, right? Where they first had the internet among university systems and that spread and all that kind of stuff. And I'm curious to see because that if those do work and we can shrink them, which if we can build them eventually we'll be able to shrink them, right? I mean, you're talking about computer power that far exceeds what we have now, like by exponential orders of magnitude, essentially. Like I think one thing I was reading, like they can solve like the test problems they give them are things that would take like a regular computer, I think like thousands of years, and they can do it in minutes. So if that's true and you can shrink that down, I mean that would be the next logical step in like solving a lot of big problems that require a lot of hard data and
hmm,
data analysis to figure out.
yeah. It's kind of, I wonder with those if it's going to break everything first before it fixes things.
Probably.
Because basically yeah, like it's gonna be like a what, dot-com uh that wasn't the bubble, that was a dot-com, like the year 2000,
Oh, and the
whatever they
bubble
called it.
burst?
No, no, no. Remember, like everybody thought in the year 2000, all
Oh,
the computers clock was going to
Y2K.
reset.
Yeah,
Y2K,
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah.
It's going to be like a Y2K all over again because we have all this security and all this data transfer and everything based upon non-quantum computing. And there are like different signatures and stuff that you can use, but it's basically having everything adapt that before quantum computers are used on a wide scale. And
Yeah.
so it may be something where everything breaks before it's all. And when I say everything breaks, I mean like financial systems, banking systems, like all of your money gone, all of your
Yeah.
everything gone, and just no, yeah. So
Well, once quantum computers
eventually,
come out, none of the encryption we have now is suitable for those at
exactly.
all. like not even
exactly.
remotely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the kind of the scary part of it, but we'll see. Maybe if it gets closer, because I mean, we worried a lot about Y2K, and
Yeah. Well,
that didn't do much.
this is the always interesting thing too, right? Because sci-fi books, like a lot of them, I think too, you always have this issue of like, advanced technology and who essentially controls it, right? Because, humanity has always been, especially with our technology, I think that's been the way we model things, right? Is whoever gets it first, they have a lot more control and power than everybody else because they own the original system. So everybody else is playing catch up, right? And so I think that's going to be a big issue too, is like how do we go from, the initial conception to getting this out there and do we allow other people to have it and blah blah blah, all that
Hmm.
nonsense. But again, that's politics and what
Yeah,
are you gonna do?
I was thinking the other day. Excuse me. I was thinking the other day because I mean, I like to read science fiction. I also like to read fantasy, and so that's like the future and the past. But like, what reading would be considered reading the present? Just reading like news? Is that it? Because that's not. I don't know.
I guess biography. Well, yeah, I don't know. That's maybe memoirs and stuff. Maybe. Well, that's still a passive, isn't it? That's how you
Yeah,
got
it's
to
still
where
the
you are
passive.
now.
Because
I
you
guess the
can't really read
news.
the present because it's yeah, the news. But even when you read the news, it's old already.
Yeah, but I think that's the point of stories, right? That was like, especially like fiction when you're talking about fake stuff like sci-fi, fantasy, is to or myths, the Bible, stuff like that, or Greek mythology. It's to take these stories and you then interpret them to understand something about your current time. So I think you're always reading about the present in a certain sense, right? Because it's always giving you some insights into the present world, even if it's talking about the future or the past or something like that.
And isn't it funny that no matter if you read the present or the past or the future or the past, the problems people have are the same?
Exactly the same, they never change, I know.
Yeah.
They either get worse in the sense that there's just more of those same problems,
Uh-huh.
like a lot of like sci-fi will have like the future where like, poverty's rampant or something. There's huge population, stuff like that. Like in the
Hmm.
Expanse series, right? Like the asteroids were
Yeah.
notably poorer than like the, inner core planets and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so like you get like a magnitude effect, I think, where they're just like way worse and stuff. But this problems all exist, right? Because we're human beings.
Hmm.
What problems are going to really change? And that's what's funny, but we never figure them out either. That's what cracks me up. Like all these ideas, like sci-fi tends to focus more on tech and stuff, I guess, and like developments, but like we never really figure out the core problems, and I wonder if we ever will, if we're just incapable of it.
Well, like based on philosophy and stuff, you can't really fix anything. You aim for something, but you never really achieve perfection.
Yeah. Or like if we'll ever get to a state where like, I don't know, where like most of the problems that we experience today are just gone. I guess there'll always be like, there'll
Well,
always be mental and so like problems like that, I guess, because
if
like,
you think about it, like the 1920s or the 1950s in America, it was like things were very good, industrialized country. There was a like middle class, you could live an amazing life, and people thought things were going to get better and better and better. And then eventually got to a point where like literally we are living in probably the best society that's ever existed. I mean, in terms of what you can have and what you can do. And but people arguably seem worse than they were before because even if you don't have everything, you think there's a problem because you don't have it. But if you do have it, then you have an existential crisis.
well, that's the other problem,
And
right? Is that,
there's nothing to work towards or go towards.
well, I think that's the bigger issue, right? It's like this, we can solve problems with stuff, but you can't solve problems with meaning. With that, like the stuff won't solve a meaning problem. So like, yeah, if you're broke, getting a job where you get more money or something is going to solve a lot of your immediate issues, but it won't solve that problem of meaning and purpose and feeling part of the world and validation and all of that. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's just, and we see probably more of that now than ever. I mean, I was just reading something they were saying that it was in the past 20 years, they were saying that like anxiety, like a bunch of these like mental health issues have like just gone up so much. Like not even just like hundreds of percents. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like it almost is like a
It
different
seems like it's all people
society.
talk about anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, is like, it's when people talk about it too, it's known, it's out. So like did it exist before and people just weren't talking about it? Because I mean clearly it's all existed before, or were they as
I
widespread?
think there's so much time, like we have so much time on our hands now, and we spend all that time in our heads. Because like back in the day, if you think about it, before the 70s, most people did not live in cities. Most people
No.
lived in the country, and a lot of people were farming. The further back you go, the more people were farming. So like, and the
Yeah.
real thing was just getting enough food so you could live. Like that was the real thing. But nowadays, nobody's concerned about living. That's not like a concern because the bar is so low, you'll live, but then there's really nothing else pressing to do with your life.
You know, it's funny. I was reading. I don't remember where I read this. I don't know how accurate it is, but they were talking about like the peasant class in like the medieval period, right? That did all the labor and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're saying that they only really worked like 150 days a year because that's like when crops. And yeah, they had stuff to do in the off season, like fixing things, but it was like not as, it wasn't everyday stuff.
Dude, and they
And
didn't have
so,
a concept of time.
well, that's what's funny. They were saying so the church would come up with all these holidays as a way to basically occupy people's attention and time, especially in all. That's why you see a lot of holidays in fall, winter, and stuff, because they were a way to get people together doing something with a purpose
Yeah.
when there wasn't anything else to do,
Hmm.
which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's like
Huh.
that need that we have to feel like, and that's a real need, right? To feel like that what we're doing matters, that we have
Yeah,
a
that we're
reason for
part of
doing it,
something.
to work
Yeah.
towards something. Yeah, yeah. And I feel like
And
we've
a lot
kind
of
of,
that's gone nowadays.
yeah, we killed that. The sense of community and stuff is gone. Like, so I think we have to work through a lot of things. But I think science fiction's fun because they do try to, it's people imagine, how these things get solved or how they turn out later. And it's fun to think about, I think, and see and wonder.
And there's so many freaking books.
Yeah,
Like
there
I
is.
keep going to the bookstore and I just drool over all the books and I'm like, why do I read? Why am I reading so slow?
I always wish I could read
It's
faster, but like retain it too, because that's the hard part. Because the
yeah.
faster you read, the less you like grasp. I think
Hmm.
we'll have androids too. I really think that robots will be the way that we'll actually, if we were smart about it, that's the way that we'll start going to planets. You send some sort of like semi-autonomous agent out there first to deal with all the BS when it's real
Hmm.
dangerous and build
Yeah.
things, and then people
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, I like that. I think it was the books by like John Scalzi where he did that type of thing, sending out a lot of bots to develop everything first. But yeah, so many interesting books.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are.
Hmm. So yeah, the future, it's coming. What do you okay, so what do you think? Like talking about the future and talking about philosophy. So like when people think philosophy, they think like Stoics, Greeks, that type of thing. And we're the future compared to them.
Yeah,
So what do you think they would think of this future that we're living in now?
I think they're. I think a lot of them would be they'd be very blown away by the developments in a lot of
Yeah.
things, like in terms of like, machines, production, all that stuff, access to stuff. They'd be very upset by a lot of things also. In terms of like
Yeah.
social issues, things that they were worried about that never got resolved, right?
Yeah.
That we're still, I mean, I guess maybe they wouldn't be surprised that we're still dealing with a lot of the same problems as human beings, as individuals, because they were dealing with
Yeah.
those problems their whole life, and so was everybody else they knew. And, what I'm interested in too, though, is like, because like we haven't had any philosophers write like a full like philosophy in a while, like anything new. And I
That's
wonder
true.
if like as we progress into the future and people have more time, if a lot of these things go away, we'll see that. We'll see new philosophies come about because people are freed up and like able to think again and like, you know, kind of reflect on these things and
Or
come
like
up
the
with something.
philosophy in a world of anxiety.
Yeah, something like that. That's
Hmm.
existentialism,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. New
That dread.
existentialism. I could
Yeah.
just see Marcus Aurelius like him coming to the future and somebody being like, "Nobody liked my post on Facebook. I'm depressed," and he's just like shaking his head like, "Ah."
Yeah, didn't know to read my
He
book.
reads he reads the second chapter of his meditations. He's like, "Remind yourself you'll be dealing with idiots on a regular basis." Okay, fine. But I guess he had his own. I mean, I think back and I'm like, they must have had their own type of people that you're just like, ah.
Oh,
Because
dude,
he
for
says when
sure.
you begin your day, remind yourself by saying you'll be dealing with all these types of
Dude, he
people,
was
right?
also the emperor. He had to deal with sycophants and kiss asses all day. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
that kind of crap all the time. So it's probably like really awesome. I mean, he was lucky in the sense that like he was emperor at a time when he had power, like all the power. But at the same time, it's like you have to deal with all these people that just constantly want things, right? I mean, so yeah.
Hmm.
I do wonder if we'll see too, like I don't know, a change in how politicians are too in the future, if that'll stay the same. You
Ooh.
know, if they'll care, like, because you go back, like, and now, Grant,
Wouldn't it be
Marcus Aurelius,
nice if there were ones that it seems like none of
yeah,
them care. They just want to make as much money as
they're
possible.
keeping the
But wouldn't it be
job, right?
nice?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if there were ones that were doing stuff for the good of society?
Yeah, or
Not just
humanity or
not
something
just
like that.
like not just I mean not just their own values because it seems like a lot of them just want to push their own values and a lot of them are like Christian based values that they just want to push on the whole world. But it's like wouldn't it be cool if they actually considered what's best for humanity?
Well, that's the other interesting thing too, is like a lot of sci-fi, one of the things that always is invariably addressed is longevity of life, right? Like a lot of books, humans end up living, especially when you get further out, like 200 years is normal or something like that. And I
Yeah.
do wonder if when we get to that point, if we'll be better at long-term planning, like because, even though we live a lot longer now, that's been very recent development. That's only been about 100 years that our life expectancy has doubled on average, right? And so the longer we live, if we'll get better at planning, because right now we suck at it. Everything has to be for the immediate gain. And if there's no immediate gain, like within and I mean like within usually like a month or a year, nobody pursues it. And so that's why we don't
Yeah.
address issues like climate change and stuff, because they're long term with no payoff for this generation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the immediate generation is not going to see that value. So yeah, I wonder if that will change.
And that's true because you really kind of consider what you're going to do with your life at that point because by the time we retire at this age, you would only be a third of the way through your life.
Yeah, which is nuts, right? Like if you think
Yeah.
about
So what
that.
are you
So
going to do with the rest of your time? Then,
how do you spend
I
it?
mean, then maybe people would actually pursue things that they enjoy.
That would be nice too, wouldn't it? But I think
Yeah.
that's the thing about like that's the thing of solving that issue of like of need of physical stuff. If you can solve that where people don't have to worry about food and stuff, then they can pursue just stuff whatever they want, right? And I think most people, I don't think you'd find a lot of people doing nothing. I don't know, maybe that's just me, maybe I'm optimistic, but I feel like people given the
Not gonna
freedom,
have a Wally type scenario where
no,
people are just really fat in
maybe
wheelchairs and
maybe
just like,
initially, maybe
yeah.
at the outset, maybe when that first happens, because you
Because I
have
see that
that,
happening nowadays with people just
yeah,
like getting really fat and just watching their phone and not paying attention to anything and just being like so sucked into their phone.
just existing, right?
Yeah.
But I think maybe
Hmm.
that's it. Maybe like as that first generation that has that opportunity, that'll probably happen. But after that, I think people will get bored. Like, and I think most people have this desire to create stuff, whether it's art, whether it's science, whether it's whatever, but like to progress stuff forward. So I think if we had that freedom, we might see a lot of interesting stuff happen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's about it.
That's the future, right? So, if you enjoyed this episode, like, share, subscribe. You can catch it on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Also, if you ever have episode topic suggestions or ideas, feel free to leave a comment in YouTube video or email us. It's in the show notes. Until next time, though, this is Existential Stoic Podcast. I'm Danny. That's Randy. See you later, Randy.
Later, Danny.